I'm back. We're talking about it again. You ready? The FOMO tactics that they're trying to get you to buy in on so that you just throw your wallet willy-nilly at the camera. I mean, the screen. Right? Let's talk. Launch boom. Let's go. So what was really interesting was I talked about this about 2 months ago, and apparently I shone a light on things, right? Very interesting reaction from you guys as well as some other people, right? I had some publishers, some bigger ones, some smaller ones, all kind of send me some messages. I probably got about 10 messages from publishers after that video went live, because I had some people saying, hey, we hear you. Hey, we have some thoughts on this. Hey, we're doing this because X, Y, and Z, right? And like I said in that video, marketing in general, I have nothing against, right? Marketing in general can be very beneficial. Marketing can get your product out there for people to notice it. Marketing can inform people that may actually be very interested or designated appropriate people for this in the first place. Very effective. But you know what? You know what's not fun? You know what's not cool? Praying, manipulating. There's a dark side. There's a dark side to marketing. Let's not kid ourselves here, right? And what I'm really happy about, before we get too far on the side tangent, is apparently this was a popular topic after I brought it up. Alex from Board Game Co. has now done 2 videos on it subsequently since mine went live. Chris from Room and Board also just recently covered it. And so other people are starting to talk about it. It's starting to get some more traction. So, where does that leave us now, though? Why am I talking about this again? Because it's not going to go away. And, you know, people have some thoughts on it and opinions on it. And let me go back to those publisher thoughts, right? It was kind of split. And I personally always view myself in this light of, I am this wee little guy on the internet speaking about stuff and, you know, shouting at the clouds, essentially. But several publishers you would recognize, I'm not going to name names because, you know, they came to me in confidence. And they said, hey, we really appreciate you putting this out there. And because you put this out there, because we hear what you're saying as a consumer, right? Like I always say on this channel, I am a consumer who happened to all of a sudden put themselves in front of camera, and still that is customer first, right? Not going to argue. We'll get to the other side in a second. And they said, you know what? You're absolutely right. We got caught up in the hype. We got caught up in this tsunami of, ooh, Mr. Burns style, right? Where we think we can do this. Ooh, you can promise us this. Ooh, the numbers are this. This is not good for us. Like, we don't feel right about doing this now that we've said kind of the quiet part out loud, right? It's one of those issues. Oh, they said it out loud. Oh, you know, the thing that everyone's thinking, implying, or considering, but somebody actually said it, and therefore it's spread like wildfire now. You know, on the other hand, right? I had some publishers, some smaller publishers, some ones that you may or may not recognize even, that also messaged me and said, hey, we're doing it because of X, Y, and Z. And as I said in that previous video, right? Like, I don't mind some of the marketing, right? Like, I understand as a business, there are some decisions you have to make, because let's be very clear, crowdfunding is a cluster frack because of some of the issues of perception of the general populace on my side of things, right? If you don't fund within 24 hours, if you don't get X% above the funding goal in X number of seconds after you launch, you're screwed. This project sucks. This is horrible. I don't know if it's going to be worth it if we can't hit 77 stretch goals. Right? You've been that person. I've been that person. Don't be that person anymore, though. And so where I'm going with this, essentially, is that we need to still be aware that it's going on. And I have no problem if people are like, hey, can you give me advice on how to run my campaign? Advice on, I'm trying to make a better campaign to appeal to more people. So in theory, again, you have sort of the dark side and the light side, right? What are the keys to successful business, right? You know, big companies, small companies, non-tabletop hobby board game companies, right? there are some very big similarities. You know what? One that is also out there too, right? Like there's plenty of, you got to grow, you got to support your workers, you got to give good environments, you got to give good benefits, good salary, you've got to support the business and, get yourself out there. And like all of those positive things you see from any large business out there, right? But the quiet part on that side of things is kind of like, you got to exploit your workers, right? How many big name companies go overseas to, pay workers pennies on the dollar? I'm not barring myself from this, right? Hypocritical, starts right here, pointing not at the camera, but at myself. And on this side of things, right? No one is like, hey, you know what? I really want to see more FOMO tactics. I really want to see more fear of missing out. I want to see people put out more content with less information to make them feel like they absolutely need it, right? That is the quiet part that never gets said out loud. I'm saying it out loud right now. And these are the marketing tactics driving it, because I ultimately believe the vast majority of these businesses, companies, publishers, whatever it may be, right, have good intentions at heart. But it's easy to get swayed. It's easy for, as much as it is also a fallacy, there's also some truth behind it, of the slippery slope, where people start saying, they just got this much money, right? Launch Boom's website is full of it. It's full of examples of and this is the funny part. If you go to the website, right, they're like, we raised, not we helped raise, we worked with this company to raise. It's we raised. So again, as they say, branding, folks. And so it goes into sort of what's worth it on the marketing side of things. What's actually working? And interestingly enough, on their website, and Room on Board, I give him credit for this. He discovered it. It was linked to me through an acquaintance online that thought I would find this interesting. You know who you are. Titled, The Psychology Behind a Successful Crowdfunding Campaign, right? Saying the quiet part out loud. It's not that necessarily this article is bad, and I'll pull it up for you here in a second on the screen so you don't just have to wonder at what I'm shouting at from the rooftops, right? But when you have an article titled that, this reminds me very much when I talked about the other issue, right? Because of the implication video, if you remember that, it wasn't that, necessarily what was done was wrong, but you can't imply the quiet part out loud. I mean, you're basically just yelling it again, right? Subtitle, how to create a successful campaign, no problem with this title so far, with psychological tricks, right? Psychological tricks. And the first one they have on there is risks. Telling people that there is no risks. No risk. Convincing them, if you can, quote, sell to people that you aren't going to cheat them out of their money, they are unlikely to see any risk in backing your campaign. What? Folks, let's just digest this for a second. On the surface, okay, on the surface, but let's talk about this for a second again, right? The psychology, the twist, the trick behind that statement, right? The implication there is that there is not going to be any risk for you losing your money. But what that also says is the quiet part out loud. Again, in a different way. That this thing, they're not trying to sell you on what's right for you. They're just trying to sell you it. Period. Right? Take a step back and think about that for a second. Take a step back further and think about that even further. Because part of this linked article, or in this article referring to it, and I've ranted on this, and again, like no one addresses the sacred cow in the room from this side of things either. And truth be told, I'm very much wanting to dabble my toe in it, right? Paid mother effing previews. I'm going to talk about this in another video coming out in the near future of a couple big things in this hobby that I don't think are anywhere necessary. One of them, spoilers, sleeves. Two of them, game trailers. Three of them, paid previews. It's going to be controversial right there. That's your spoiler for the upcoming videos. Because, I mean, like, value added. Sleeves, well, that's a whole nother thing, right? Grading your Star Wars Unlimited card. The PSA value 10, some people buying it for 4 times the price of what it's worth. Anyway, side tangent there. But especially those second two. Because what I am about as a consumer is to provide you, as the consumer, useful information. And the vast majority of those second two, vast, overwhelming majority of them provide very little from that aspect of things. Right? Because people have reach, people are willing to spend money on that side of things. And that's where the dilemma comes in. That's where I'm going to get myself in trouble in this video. I don't think those add a whole lot of value. I don't mind if you're making money off of them and it supports you as a business. If you're one of those channels that can really, be successful in that sense and, do you, and that's awesome. And I am, again, just like with the small publishers that are forced to use some of these tactics a little bit, right? Like, I'm not going to fault them in that way. But you can't also pretend that it's like a super, 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 super good service for the community as a whole at the same time, right? It's sort of the same thing we do with Nike, Apple, Oh, well, no, nothing's wrong with this. I'll just, no, okay. And again, I'm talking about myself being a hypocrite there too, right? Like I said, I am very tempted to do this. I just got an offer to basically do a little unboxing ad from a small indie publisher in the next 2 months. And they'll pay me, for a couple minutes of conversation of whatever I want to talk about with their product in front of the camera. A decent chunk of what I make on YouTube in a whole forking month. So you can't tell me that that isn't tempting. I'd be lying to you if I said otherwise. How do we get on the side bunny trail? Anyway, going back to this though, there's no risks. The trick number 2 that they say, trick number 2, I help you and you help me. Folks, this is bullshit Nikes. Because let's talk about this again for a second, right? Well, you're going to get exclusive perks. You're going to get promotions. You're going to get whatever, right? The bottom line of this is you don't need this product whatsoever. You don't need this product whatso frickin' ever, right? So I'm also giving you, let's be very clear, crowdfunding here, right? Again, the other sacred cow of crowdfunding. I'm giving you a free loan. I'm giving you a free loan. I am literally losing money from an inflation standpoint because that money will be tied up anywhere between 6 months to 2 years. And if I put that in the bank, I would literally gain money. So even all the people that are like, well, Chris, I back crowdfunding and I only speculate and I buy the CMONs and I make money. Well, you might make enough money back to beat inflation over the long run if you're really good, But as they say with casinos, right? The house always inevitably wins. Look around you. The house wins. Companies are winning because you have more stuff than you're ever going to play in your lifetime if you could dedicate 8 hours a day to playing it repeatedly. So the house is winning regardless of if you make $20 or $30 on a crowdfunding project here or there. Because ultimately, the sum total ain't close, folks. Ain't close. The third point, and boy howdy does this one piss me off. If you thought I was excited about the other ones, right? Trick number 3, use social proof and make it real. No, put an asterisk behind that. Because behind this, they go, while it's great to get some flashy logos of reputable news sources on your campaign page, testimonials from real people can just be as reassuring in crowdfunding. Just be careful about faking it, because the crowdfunding community can usually sniff out fabricated social proof. Take advantage of this psychological tactic. I don't think having quotes on there is wrong. But you've heard me also yell about this sacred cow. We're just hitting all the sacred cows today. Boy, I am going to piss people off in this video. I dislike strongly a very large number of crowdfunding quotes. Because I don't think, again, they offer substantial value. When you have a quote from somebody who says, this game was fun, that doesn't help me. What's your definition of fun? Why was it fun? How does it compare fun-wise to other games that are similar? What makes this one stand out among all of the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of games that you find to be fun on a yearly basis? Generic descriptions to fool people is essentially what they're advocating for. And guess what? We're doing that. Guess what? I just did the crowdfunding roundup this past week, and I saw several quotes that were literally that from paid videos. And paid videos should not have opinions. You can talk about the game and give a bland overview like white on rice. You can give a description or a playthrough. But if you're putting an opinion on it, that's not becoming just a paid preview. I draw that line right there. If I want to ramble and rant and show you a product at the same time, talking about something tangentially unrelated, right? And just show you how cool it looks. This looks cool. That's sort of an opinion too, but it's not passing a judgment necessarily in the same sense. Do you get what I'm going there? And again, just the whole fact that they're even mentioning the quiet part out loud. Have you ever thought about that? Because again, I've had this happen in the past. You know, nowadays, I'm very specific. Like if people want quotes from me, I either say, you take the quote directly from my video, or I submit a quote to you. You are not allowed to paraphrase me. Because it's happened. I got paraphrased on a couple old campaign pages. I don't even remember which ones they were. But I wasn't happy when I saw it. I didn't say anything. But at the time, I probably should have. And I just wonder how much of that... I don't watch all those videos from all those quotes, right? You don't either. That's where this comes from. There is a trust relationship here. And if you're advocating that the trust relationship, again, because of the motherfrackin' implication, if you're going to even imply some falsifying, even hint at it, I'm going to toss your project out the window, right? I don't care what size company you are. I don't care how big you are. I don't care who you are. This side of the camera, that side of the camera, right? Like, no. That's horrible. I don't care about the next trick that they throw on there. They say colors matter, right? I'm sure that matters on YouTube, algorithms and thumbnails. I'm horrible at that. And that's some slight manipulation that I'm not going to bring up here. It's not worth a rant or a rave or anything, right? But then literally trick number 5, they go straight into it, right? They're like, use FOMO. FOMO the mother effing crap out of people. FOMO them. Give them exclusivity. Give them an email pre-launch list, the $1 thing that we got onto this whole subject with in the first place. Make it scarcity. Make it scarce. Have you ever... I'm sure you have. I've called this out on many campaigns, bigs and smalls, right? When Mythic used to say, not widely available at retail. Well, that didn't mention the fact that it was going to be available, and their web shop right away afterwards, right? Or the fact that you can late pledge without any difference. The fact that Roth from GameFound's Chip Theory's most recent project was literally available during the campaign pledging for the exact same price that you could get with free shipping on Game Nerds at the exact same time. They're playing on your FOMO for you not doing your research. That's what this is advocating for. Target the people who aren't paying attention, right? I mean, no different than anything else, though, right? I had someone just online today try and sell me Star Wars Unlimited boxes, right? My Star Wars crack, right? But guy was like, hey, I'll sell them to you, $175. That's what I got them priced for in my shop. I was like, hey, dude, literally right now as we speak, I can go on TCG Player and they're 130 shipped. And on Amazon, they're 120 shipped. Well, I had five cases the other day, and now I'm down to 4 boxes. Cases are 6 boxes each, so that would imply, multiple boxes of 6 boxes, and then he sold them all. And I'm like, that's fine, man. Scarcity, right there. He was assuming that I'm just going to take whatever he says as gospel right away. And that's what they want you to do here, right? Urgency is the last part of this. You need to buy it now. Other people are going to get it. The grass is going to be greener. That content creator over there, they already got the copy of the latest big box exclusive miniature based game, and they've already talked about it. So if you really want it from us, you need to, XYZ. Oh, your neighbor has already got it. Your friendly local game store player brought it to game night. And if you want it, you better buy it at this price right now. Oh, it's not going to be available in our web shop. It's only going to be available during this time frame. I don't know. You may miss out. Urgency, urgency, urgency. 48 hours, 24 hours, 3 hours left in our campaign. Oh, no. Ever seen that before? Yeah, you've seen it. You've seen it. So, I mean, the last point on here is even urgency for the end of campaign push, right? And again, I mean, it's not that necessarily some of these things are in and of themselves evil, right? It's like we were talking to my kids before. Fire. Fire is fire bad? No. Fire is tremendous. Fire is dangerous, though, at the same time. Right? Playing with fire, that's where it comes from. And so this is the exact same thing, right? This is diving into the darker side of things that you don't want consumers to know. We all want to think that we're smart and we're savvy. And this just puts a little bit of a light on it. And again, it's saying the quiet part out loud so that, people can make you do things you're really not wanting to do. It makes me think of addiction and gambling in the first place, right? You see all the gambling websites, all the gambling ads. You can't watch any sort of sporting event nowadays without having that show up. And if you've ever seen those ads, right? And they say like gambling, very, very quickly, the ad portion of things at the very end, right? Has gambling is an addiction. Call this if you need help, right? They're like legally required, just like those cigarette commercials used to be. Smoking causes cancer, right? But it'd be on there for like half of a millisecond. And then to basically meet the legal requirements. And that's what this is sort of doing, right? They're sort of like, do this, but do it in this way because you can fool people even more than you need to. Again, playing on the psychology is not a bad thing. Psychology we use all the time in a work-life situation, right? Raising kids, business, just people in general, dealing with people, interacting with people, people you may not agree with or get along with in general. But there's a difference between, using it to just keep the interaction socially acceptable and, mutually respectful, and then also trying to dupe people or make them dupes. So that's what this is basically doing, or kind of wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You can. Just be careful with those fake quotes. Make them close. Whatever it may be, right? And that's disconcerting. Because the pressure to do these things that are not beneficial, as I said earlier, right? It's becoming more and more harder and harder, bigger and bigger. And the only way, the bottom line of this, the only way that you're going to have influence on what happens in the future is if you vote with your wallet or your views, right? If you don't like seeing those paid previews, don't watch them. Eventually, people are going to stop paying for them if the ROI, which again, LaunchBoom talks about extensively in one of their other articles. Of course, they cherry pick the ones that are really successful to make it sound like some of their stuff is going to be very helpful, right? They don't show you the stuff that didn't do as well. They only show you the stuff that, again, from a marketing manipulation standpoint, they even use it in their own stuff to make you feel better about buying certain ads or getting certain benefits from them as a whole. If you don't click on the paid previews, eventually publishers are going to say, our ROI, no matter if your channel is hundreds of thousands of people or thousands of people, if we can get the same click ROI on something we didn't pay for as we paid for, like, that's where it is. If some of the exclusivity didn't work, right? As we've seen the pendulum swing a little bit back and forth on crowdfunding, it's gotten away from that significantly because people stopped FOMOing as much. But as consumers have adapted, so has the marketing psychology, tactics, and manipulation on the other side of things to meet it where it's at. And it's a constant balancing act. So again, that's going to be the only thing, that's going to make a change. And if people really want those and I am just wrong, you'll continue to see them and see them well. Because, as I said at the beginning of the video, right? Like, if people are willing to pay for it, I don't necessarily totally put the onus on the people who are making them at all whatsoever. Like, it's not to throw shade on them in any way, shape, or form, right? Like, that's not what this video is. But I also can't, like, overwhelmingly endorse that it's a super good thing for our hobby as a whole, right? So that's the line that is, you gotta be balanced. And I don't have the answer for that. I just think it's worth talking about and discussing and bringing up. So that's why I get myself in trouble. This video is gonna, I'm sorry in advance. Hopefully. Well, keep the discourse civil in the comment section, please. As always, though, like I said, stay classy. I'm stopping there. See you around.